They unearthed shocking truths in the book of Numbers that change everything. Few knew what truly happened that night in the vast wilderness, where whispers of betrayal and darkness crept through the camp. As the flickering flames danced in the shadows, a low murmur swept through the people of Israel. Something was amiss. The air hung heavy, pregnant with unspoken fears. Moses stood at the edge of the flickering light, his brow furrowed, etched with worry. The ancient scrolls spoke of numerical designs and divine plans, but the truths hidden within were darker than anyone could have anticipated. Just outside the camp, where the curious were labeled misfits, troubling visions plagued their minds. Was it madness or prophecy? The children of Israel had been wandering in this rugged land for what felt like eternity. Day after day, under the unyielding sun, they had survived with miracles bred from heaven and water from rocks. Yet, in the hush of that night, around the campfire, they exchanged glances that told a tale of dread. Fear gripped their hearts as they remembered the last report of the scouts sent to spy on Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey, but fraught with giants. "We looked like grasshoppers to them," one had exclaimed, his voice hoarse with panic. But the truth twisted deeper. Who were the giants really? The inner demons? The fears left to fester? Or was it the very leaders they trusted? The darkness loomed. What were they hiding? Amidst the glow of the flames, a figure emerged. A whisperer. The lone man darted through the shadows, eyes wide, breath ragged. With trembling hands, he revealed a scroll, one that told of secret gatherings and plans for insurrection. The camp erupted into chaos. "He is lying," shouted one. "He seeks to deceive us," cried another. But the tension was palpable. Shivers traced down their spines. What was real? Fear masked as brotherhood? The echoes of their trust began to fracture, shaking the very foundation of their unity. Doubt was a poison, and it spread fast. Moses sensed the storm brewing, a storm of rebellion, of tears and uncertain truths. He needed answers. Yet the more he probed, the foggier the situation became. If they could betray one another over something as intimate as fear, what more would they do if their very lives hung in the balance? What would happen next? Would the voice of truth triumph, or would the weight of their fears crush them into submission? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the embers of the fire flickered and dimmed, Moses sensed the hearts of the people swaying like the very flames before him. Fear was a tempestuous wind, and it threatened to fan the smoldering embers of discontent into an inferno of rebellion. He took a deep breath, allowing the crisp night air to saturate his lungs. Silence shrouded the camp, each breath an echo of trepidation, yet within that stillness lay an urgency. What lay veiled in the whispers of discontent? Every parent selfishly clung to their children, every elder prayed for wisdom. The once vibrant tapestry of community frayed, each thread resenting and doubting the other. Moses recalled the words of the Lord, "These people are stiff-necked." But what if the root of their stubbornness was not just defiance, but desperation? He raised his hand, commanding silence as the shadows deepened, the air thick with unspoken dread. "Children of Israel," he began, his voice resolute but gentle, "the Lord your God has guided you through fire and flood. We have faced trials, yet here we stand. Why would we turn against one another now when our strength lies in unity?" Yet, even as he spoke, Moses could see the flicker of uncertainty in their eyes. Doubt slithered among them, harder to quell than the raging winds on the desert. Someone shouted amidst the crowd, "Moses, will you lead us into certain doom? We followed your call, but where is the promise? The land we spied is filled with giants." There it was, the outburst that echoed the turmoil within. Moses felt the weight of the leader's mantle heavy upon him, heavier with every whisper of dissent. Where was he to find the strength to bear this? As the crowd's simmering fear transformed into collective outrage, someone in the rear raised an arm to uncover another scribe, another plot twist cast upon this tale. "Let us seek out those who would betray us," she cried amidst the gathering storm, her voice trembling yet resolute. "Let us discover their motives and confront them, lest we fall divided." Her words ignited a flicker of hope, but mingled in the air was a feverish twist of vengeance. Moses stood still, wrestling with the voice of authority battling against a chorus of fear and anger. Shall we turn upon our own in this hour of uncertainty? Shall we allow despair to dictate our fate when our God is our refuge? He implored, but, like a crack of thunder, the murmurs mounted into a clamor, each heart grasping fleeting reasons to lash out in the dark. The fire revealed faces twisted by doubt, and the unity forged in trials began to splinter under the tension of suspicion. Each accusation reverberated, haunting their collective consciousness. Was there a plot brewing in their midst? That night, as he retreated to the quiet of his tent, Moses pondered the gravity of their fate. The flickering campfire whispered secrets only he could grasp, ancient echoes wrapping around him like a shroud. What lies deeper beneath the surface of their fears? Was there a shadow lurking that could extinguish the divine light guiding them? In solitude, he prayed, seeking clarity amidst chaos. The silence of the night enveloped him like a blanket, and as he wrestled with those thoughts, a sacred promise stirred within him. The land promised was still theirs. But what price would they pay? How might betrayal and resilience dance together on the fragile edge of hope? As dawn approached, an unshakable question loomed: what must be uncovered, and at what cost, for the truth to prevail among the people he loved? As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the camp began to stir. The people emerged from their tents, weary-eyed and heavy-hearted. A sense of unease permeated the air, as if the very fabric of their faith was frayed and thin. Moses stepped from his tent, the sun finding him like a spotlight on a weary stage. He felt the embers of the previous night still flickering within him, a roiling storm of anxiety and resolve. The morning would bring more than just the sunrise, it would bring the harsh light of truth that pierced the shadows lurking in their hearts. Quiet murmurs echoed among the people as he made his way through the throng. He could sense the currents of anxiety thrumming beneath the surface. He lifted his hand once more, calling the gathering to attention. "Brothers and sisters," he began, his voice carrying an authority tempered by compassion. "We stand upon the precipice of our destiny. Yesterday's fears are but phantoms that cloud our vision. Our path is illuminated by the promises of our God, the same God who has led us through trials we thought insurmountable. Yet, amidst the stirring courage, doubt remained. A man stepped forward, his brow furrowed in earnestness. "Moses, you speak of promises, but what assurances do we have? The land flows with milk and honey, yes, but it is also filled with danger and giants who defy our passage. How do we know the Lord will descend among us to fight our battles?" Moses felt the weight of those words settle heavy upon his shoulders. He remembered the encounters with those sent to scout the land, the fruits they returned with and the remnant fear that crept alongside. His mind spun with recollections of mighty foes and the strength of a people still fragile. What if their lineage of promise lay imprisoned beneath trepidation and misunderstanding? "Moses," another voice emerged, a woman whose eyes shimmered like morning dew, "we must open our hearts to one another. We are not simply followers of your lead, we are a community. We must confront our fears together, lest they consume us. Shall we not examine the roots of this discontent before we act?" At her words, the crowd began to murmur, doubt and suspicion flickering uncertainly. Moses saw the truth shining through. The discontent bore deeper wounds now visible. The giants ahead may not only be those in the land flowing with milk and honey, but also the ones residing within their hearts, the giants of unresolved grief, lost faith, and broken trust woven through the fabric of survival. "Then let us not seek accusations but understanding," Moses proposed, his voice steady with newfound determination. "Let us lay bare our burdens before the Lord and each other. We can unearth the roots of fear together, allowing light to dispel shadow. One by one, the people began to speak not merely of giants, but of losses, their grievances, and regrets that echoed throughout generations. The sharing became a river of voices joining together, creating currents that lifted them from the depths of division. With every revelation, healing began to unfurl like petals reaching toward the sun. Moses stood amidst the throng, reflecting on the profound connection growing each moment. Yet, even as unity seemed to glimmer in the morning light, he sensed an undercurrent of anxiety still lingering, the fear of the unknown future and the impending confrontation that awaited them. As hope flourished, the deeper question lingered: would they be able to face the giants not only of the land but of their unsettled spirits? In the shadows of healing and hope, Moses grasped the enormity of his role. He was a shepherd, a guide, yet also a flawed man navigating a tumultuous sea of emotions. The weight of leadership pressed upon him, and the contemplation of faith swirled within. How does one maintain trust in the divine amidst the cacophony of human doubt? As he departed the gathering, a question stirred in his heart, echoing against the silence of the desert: what must be unearthed from within each soul to truly grasp the magnitude of the promise ahead? As the warmth of the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows among the encampment, Moses returned to his tent, his heart resonating with the cries of his people. The air was thick with the echoes of confessions and the tension of unyielding hope. Yet he felt an unsettling pull deep within, a whisper that suggested more mysteries lay beneath the surface, a river of untapped truths beneath the current of their fears. That he knelt before the altar, a humble structure adorned with stones and memory. Closing his eyes, he sought the presence of the Lord, the one who spoke through fire and cloud. Silence enveloped him, wrapping him in a cocoon of serenity, yet the question of his people throbbed against the stillness. What truths lay buried within, waiting to be unearthed? The weight of his thoughts drifted into prayer, and there, within the silence, a vision unfurled, a path through the wilderness, a promised land crowned with abundance, yet marked by loss and despair. In his spirit, he felt the enormity of battles waged both within and against external foes. What if their fight was not merely to conquer giants but to confront the deeper seeds of distrust sown through years of suffering? Moses opened his eyes, and the world around him seemed anew. Each grain of sand, every rustle of leaves echoed of promises. He remembered that the legacy of his ancestors wasn't solely filled with victories. It was a tapestry sewn with threads of survival, heartache, and the ceaseless quest for divine connection. They had wept and wandered, tasted bitterness, and longed for understanding and unity among their own. Summoning the strength of his ancestors, he called for another gathering. The people, still reeling from their earlier confessions, came together once more, a sea of faces illuminated by a flickering desire to synthesize their truths. They formed a wide circle, a human chain of fellowship and vulnerability that whispered of strength in unity. Brothers and sisters, he began, his voice vibrating with the resonance of their shared experiences. Today, as we stand before one another, let us embrace not just our joys but also our wounds. For the path ahead is shadowed not just by giants but also by the silent weight of unresolved struggles among us. Tension threaded through the crowd, eyes widened, and breaths paused. Could they dare to delve deeper? Could they truly bring forth unspoken fears and hidden sorrows, confronting challenges that transcended mere survival? A man stepped forward, his shoulders hunched with burdens unseen. I have carried envy in my heart, jealousy towards those whose paths seemed favored by the Lord. Can we indeed embrace each other with such feelings alive within us? Moses nodded, his heart swelling, for this bold admission opened the doorway. We are flawed individuals navigating a complex world. Let us delve into the layers within, for it is through recognition that we find common ground. In acknowledging our shadows, we shine light upon our shared humanity. With each word, the hesitant murmurs transformed into a chorus of voices. Tales of envy, regret, sorrow, and yearning spilled forth, weaving an intricate pattern of shared humanity. Each confession was a testament to the unbreakable bond of their struggles and their assurance of unity. Healing in the dialogue that flowed between them, yet as they bared their souls, Moses felt the lingering heaviness of an unanswerable question. For while connections were being forged, the looming specter of confrontation with the giants still hung in the air. Was it enough to confront the internal battles if they could not face the actual foes awaiting them in the land they yearned for? Would the uncovering of these truths empower them or further divide them in the face of danger still to come? As the gathering ebbed, and feelings of connection simmered in the afterglow of their communion, a quiet whisper within called Moses to reflect further. In seeking healing and truth among one another, would they also find the strength to confront the very giants that populated their promised land? Would their shared truths fortify them against the challenges that lay ahead? Or would the weight of their newfound revelations hold them captive in cycles of fear and doubt? And so, as the sun dipped into the horizon, casting a golden hue upon the gathering, Moses carried in his heart a deeper inquiry. What truths do we still need to uncover before we can truly march forward in faith and courage against the giants both within and without? As the shadows of twilight blended with the cool dusk, Moses retreated from the gathering, his heart a blend of hope and apprehension. The confessions had drawn a tapestry of shared hearts, yet each revelation seemed to echo against the stones of uncertainty piling within him. He wandered to a secluded part of the encampment near the flicker of a lingering campfire. The flames danced like spirits, illuminating the night but creating deeper recesses of darkness around them. In that moment of solitude, he pondered not only the sins and wounds of the people but the inherent nature of their desires. Would they treasure vulnerability or tremble beneath the weight of their truth? The divine whisper that had beckoned him earlier prodded him again, urging further introspection. What would unlock unity among them? Acceptance of their frailties or revelation of their strengths? Yet there loomed a burden, throbbing just under the surface. As much as they had bared their souls, would it truly be enough? The giants that awaited in the land spilling over with promise were not solely of flesh and bone. They embodied fears forged from their past burdens, the disbelief and the scars of exile, the memories of hardship that nourished doubt. Just then, Jethro, his father-in-law and a wise elder, approached with a gentle yet determined stride. "Moses, you seem troubled," he said, recognizing the inner turmoil painted across Moses' features. "What compels your spirit this evening?" "It is the hearts of the people," Moses replied, gazing into the dancing flames. "While they have spoken truth, I worry if it is enough to strengthen us for what lies ahead. I sense a deeper challenge resides within us, one that intertwines with our past." Jethro nodded, stroking his beard thoughtfully. "Tell me, what is the nature of this challenge?" Moses took a breath, recalling the haunting vision that had stirred in his soul. "It speaks to the battle between belief and despair. Their hearts are full of grievances, Jethro, yet I wonder, will they sustain faith against giants or fall prey to their old fears once again?" Jethro's eyes glimmered as he understood the weight of Moses's burdens. Every journey bears shadows, and the path toward promise is often obscured by the self-doubt that arises from unresolved conflicts. Perhaps the act of naming these giants, of speaking their names aloud, could strip them of their power. Moses recognized wisdom in this perspective. To confront the fear, was it a parallel to confronting the giants? But how could they lend their voices against the looming threats? He felt challenged not merely to prepare them for battle with weapons but to ready their hearts for the true confrontation, that of self-understanding and community support. As the air crackled with crisp night energy, he voiced his thoughts. "We must gather again, Jethro, not just for support but to name those giants haunting our hearts, lest they rise against us." With determination igniting, he summoned the people once more. As they gathered, the fire cast flickering shadows that seemed to dance alongside their trust. "Let us not only confess our wounds but name those fears that sprawl across the horizon of our hearts. In doing so, we draw the line between our struggles and our power. We wrestle not only against earthly foes, we confront doubt, loss, and inconsolable yearnings." One by one, they began to name those giants, feelings of insignificance, memories of enslavement, seething resentment, and a haunting fear of abandonment. Each name invoked a deeper acknowledgement, resonating within their collective spirit, stirring courage beneath the dread. Yet, within this raw vulnerability, Moses sensed an undercurrent of distress. Would naming these giants indeed diminish their might, or would it instead manifest the very despair they feared? At the moment of revelation, it struck him there was another giant, one that lurked behind their immediate fears. It was the fear of disconnection, the doubt that arose from years of separation and enslavement. If they could not fully embrace each other as brothers and sisters, how could they remain unwavering against whatever awaited them? as the gathering deepened, a compelling question ignited in Moses's heart, lingering in the atmosphere like an unanswered prayer. Would embracing vulnerability as a collective empower them to face the enemies who awaited them in the Promised Land, or would it leave them fractured at a moment when unity was most crucial? As the embers smoldered and whispered into the night, the atmosphere among the gathered Israelites shifted. There was an energy palpable, a mingling of dread and determination as each individual faced their demons in the soft glow of the firelight. It was not merely a circle of bodies, but a communion of souls, each expressing their burdens in shared vulnerability. Moses stood at the center, his heart resonating with the weight of their confessions. The names they had spoken echoed in his ear, not merely as words but as ancient fears clawing their way from the shadows of history. "What do you hear?" Jethro questioned softly, his voice a silken thread of counsel woven into the moment. "I hear the past," Moses replied, his brow furrowed as he looked into the faces illuminated by flickering light. "Every name is a reminder of where we have been, of the chains that once bound us. But it is also a call, a summons to reforge our identity anew." The people responded with softened eyes, realizing how their collective memory was steeped in both pain and resilience. They had been forged in the furnace of oppression, yet here, by the fire, they began to see a flicker of possibility, a community bound not only by sorrow but by shared hope. Suddenly, one among them, a woman named Miriam, raised her voice, trembling with the weight of her past. "I fear the giants of despair more than any physical enemy. I have buried my grief so deep, convinced that tears are a weakness. But if we are to face the land flowing with milk and honey, I must trust that my pain can transform into strength." Moses' spirit stirred at her declaration. He saw an ebb and flow in their hearts like waves crashing against the shore of their identity. Each name cast into the circle acted like a stone, rippling through their community, awakening nods of understanding and murmurings of agreement. "Let our tears mark the soil from which we grow," another voice offered, a young man named Caleb, his courage radiating amidst the uncertainty. "If we hold on to our fears, they will bind our spirits tighter than the chains of Egypt. But together, we have the power to lift that burden." The fire flickered fervently in response to their spirited resolve. Yet, deep within, Moses wrestled with their forward momentum. Could this moment of honesty truly anchor them against the forces yet to arrive, or was it a fleeting mirage that could give way to doubt as swiftly as it had captivated them? In the corners of his understanding, he grappled with something deeper. It transcended their individual and collective fears, it was about the intimacy of their connection. What we stand on is more than a naming of giants. It is a sacred bond that must flourish in trust and love. We cannot allow the fears we express tonight to become the very walls that divide us again. He felt the weight of the unspoken, the question of true belonging bubbling beneath their shared experience. Would their vulnerability be the glue that could allow them to move through the tumultuous seas of their rivalry and strengthen their resolve against external threats? As the night sky glimmered above, a solemn stillness descended upon the group. The fire waned, and silence filled the air, pregnant with the heavy awareness of the uncharted territory ahead. Moses inhaled, sensing that the despair they had laid bare was only a fragment of the larger challenge. Perhaps the greatest trial was the need to weave their fractured histories into a tapestry of unity, embracing even their most hidden fears. What would come of this communion when dawn broke? Would the revelations they shared bind them closer, or be the seeds of division, triggering a fracturing of their shared resolve? In that enigmatic pause, one question lingered in the night air like the smoke from their fire: could they truly forge ahead as one, or would the shadows of their past pull them into a deeper despair as they stepped into the land that awaited? As the first light crept over the horizon, a golden hue draped itself over the weary figures of the Israelites. The flickering embers of the fire still glowed like tiny stars upon the dark earth, yet the encroaching dawn brought with it an urgency that seemed to electrify the air. Moses stood, his heart throbbing with the weight of their collective fears but also filled with expectation. How would the light of the new day reshape their resolve? He gazed upon the faces of those who had shared their burdens. Each one, he realized, was deeply marked by a history not solely defined by suffering but by the enduring flames of hope that had flickered through generations. Yet, even amidst this reflection, a subtle tension pulled at his spirit, the raw vulnerability shared around the night fire now transformed into an unspoken expectation just as daunting. They had bared their souls, yet who could say whether the depths of their honesty would lead them forward or ensnare them in the very shadows they sought to escape. As the sun rose higher, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the sounds of the wilderness awakened, birds flitted into the morning air, a curious group of deer stepped cautiously from the shadows of the trees, and a gentle breeze rustled through the olive branches. It was as if creation itself bore witness to the pivotal moment unfolding among the people. Moses felt, deep within his bones, that they stood upon the precipice of a new chapter in their journey, a pilgrimage defined by their voices united. "Gather around." He called, his voice steady, resonating across the encampment as a call to assemble. The people stirred, the heaviness of last night's confession still clinging to them like dew on the grass as they came closer, curiosity and trepidation in equal measure. "Last night, we unearthed pieces of ourselves that have long lain dormant. You shared your fears, and together, we listened. But today, we must go beyond the shadows we've named. Today, we reach for the light that beckons us forward. Yet I feel a question pressing upon my heart. How do we navigate the journey ahead without succumbing to the very fears we have voiced?" Miriam stepped forward, her gaze steady as she brushed back her hair, wind tousling it like the thoughts swirling in her mind. "Moses, we have spoken of our giants, but what if they are not merely shadows to be feared? What if we must also seek the hidden treasures buried deep within ourselves? Perhaps the strongholds we dread can become the very foundation upon which we build our future." Her words hung in the air, each syllable ringing with a profound truth that resonated among the crowds. Caleb echoed this sentiment, his youthful enthusiasm rising to meet the challenge. "Yes. The giants we face may also lead us to valleys rich with promise. Are we willing to venture into these unknown territories to discover not only the strength we possess but the blessings yet unclaimed?" Moses felt a shift among the assembled hearts. An undeniable spirit of courage began to seep into the cracks of their resolve. Yet, deep in the depths of his own thoughts, he felt a flicker of hesitation. Was it merely courage they needed? Or was it wisdom that would guide their steps? The memories of Egypt still lingered, the shadows of oppression fresh on their minds. Could their newfound determination withstand the trials that awaited them? With a sigh, he glanced up at the sky, as if seeking divine inspiration among the clouds. "Thus far, our past has shaped us, but we must not allow it to bind us. We stand at the threshold of a new land, a land that holds as much promise as peril. And we must become not just a group of individuals confronting giants, but a unified force that embraces both our light and our darkness." Yet even as he spoke, he felt an unsettled yearning. Was it truly possible to build a community that would respect the scars of their past while fusing together their dreams for the future? As they prepared to face the unknown, questions lingered like the morning mist that clung to the earth. What would test their unity as they walked forward? Could their emerging bonds withstand the pressures of the journey ahead, or would the very fears they reveal become the cracks through which their solidarity would fissure? As the sun climbed higher, bathing them in warmth, Moses realized that the path ahead was laden not only with promise but with the continued exploration of their shared humanity. With every step, they would be writing new narrative stories interwoven with both triumphs and trials. In that moment, a question formed like a breath upon the air, challenging the Israelites to reflect upon their journey yet to unfold. Would the courage they had mustered at dawn carry them through the darkness ahead, or would its brilliance fade in the face of the giants yet to be encountered? As the day waned and the sun began to dip behind the hills, casting long shadows across the camp, the Israelites settled around a patch of grass that had become their gathering spot for the stories they were beginning to forge. The golden light danced upon their faces, marking the weary but determined expressions that faced Moses. He sensed that they were ready to delve deeper into the mysteries of their plight, to uncover truths that extended beyond mere fears and aspirations. Tonight, Moses began, his voice steady and deliberate, "Let us not only confront the giants we fear but explore the very essence of who we are amidst this journey. Behind every shadow lies a truth waiting to be acknowledged. In the book of Numbers, we often see a record of our lineage, but what if it is also a revelation of our divine legacy? Who are we really when confronted with such uncertainties? The air thickened with anticipation as they gathered closer, each person leaning in to listen intently, eager for words that might guide their path. Miriam's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Moses, what does it mean to be defined by a lineage? Surely, it is not merely about names or history. It is about spirit and purpose. Indeed, he replied, encouraged by her challenge. The names inscribed in the scrolls tell of our ancestors, their trials, and triumphs. Yet, they also hold lessons we must unearth. What if we seek not just to acknowledge our past, but to feel it pulsing through our veins and changing us now? Caleb, always enthusiastic, interjected with fervor. But how do we move beyond the names? How do we embody the strength of those who came before us and transform that spirit into action? This question lingered in the space around them like a sweet fragrance carried on the evening breeze. Moses felt an inspiration take hold, igniting within him a vision not only of their past but of their potential future. Let us not forget that in each story we tell, there are echoes of victory and vulnerability. We must learn to discern the lessons embedded in our histories. The struggles of faith experienced by our forebears serve as a lantern to light our way. The murmurs of agreement rippled through the gathering. An elderly man spoke up, his voice softened by the patina of experience. But what if our histories also reveal our flaws? What if we are compelled to face not only the greatness of our ancestors but their failures as well? Silence enveloped the group as the weight of this acknowledgement settled upon their shoulders. Moses turned his gaze to the heavens, feeling the gravity of their plight. Yes, and herein lies the heart of our quest. To understand and accept that we, too, walk a path fraught with imperfection. We have the capacity to learn from every misstep, to draw strength from moments of weakness. Their minds began to wander, tracing the lines of past mistakes and missed opportunities. The thought of disappointment hung heavily in the air, yet there was also a sense of community folding in upon itself, at once comforting and disarming. The hidden treasures Miriam spoke of had begun to reveal themselves not only in the power of shared resolve but also in the recognition of their fragility. Perhaps, Miriam proposed softly, our collective humanity is what truly binds us. The scars we carry can be shared as much as the victories we claim. When we face our fears, we can also reveal our strengths. Reconciling both can guide us through the darkness. Moses nodded, sensing that they were entering a profound understanding of themselves and interweaving of past, present, and future. Tomorrow, as we face the giants before us, let us carry with us not only our hopes but our histories, our lessons learned and unlearned. Let us walk together, allowing our names to rise in light upon the scroll of generations yet to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the people remained hushed, pondering the depth of what had been unearthed. Was it enough to carry their truths into the battles that lay ahead? Could their vulnerabilities forge strength in unity? In their hearts, unanswered questions echoed against the backdrop of a twilight sky, whispering a promise of challenges to come. How would they transform their lineage into a legacy not only of survival but of thriving, as they journeyed into the uncharted territories of their covenant with the divine? The night deepened, the stars emerging like ancient eyes peering down upon the nascent community that had gathered under the sprawling sky. The flickering flames of their campfires danced with an air of reverence, casting gentle shadows that painted the faces of the onlookers. Among them were children, their eyes wide with wonder, drawn to the stories of their elders, their spirits unburdened by the heaviness that weighed on the adults. Moses stood before them, inspired by the promise of a new dawn approaching. We tread on sacred ground, he declared, aware that the words he spoke were more than mere encouragement. Each gathering like this unfurls the mysteries of our existence. Our journey through the wilderness is not only a physical crossing of desert sands but a spiritual odyssey, where truths are unearthed in the most unexpected places. As he spoke, the weight of his role settled upon him, a blend of awe and responsibility. Consider the book of Numbers, he said with conviction. It records more than our tribal counts or our campsites. Hidden within its verses are the paths of our hearts, the struggles of our souls. It weaves a narrative not only of numbers but of relationships, temptations, and divine encounters. A murmuration of thought spread among the crowd as they turned their gaze towards the horizon. How often had they seen the names and numbers in their records yet overlooked the profound stories that lived within those lines? It was Miriam who continued the thread of contemplation. But, Moses, how do we sift through the mundane to reach the extraordinary? What practices can help us unveil these lessons? Your inquiry is wise, he replied, a smile blooming on his face. The key lies within our rituals and reflections. Just as we recount our lineage, we must create spaces to voice our dreams and disappointments. In sharing our experiences, we weave our personal threads into the great tapestry of our community. A hush fell over the assembly as one young man, Obed, took a step forward. And what of the burdens we carry? The fears that paralyze us when we approach the giants. His voice trembled, but there was steel behind his words. How do we turn those very fears into stepping stones? Moses studied his face, the resolve painted upon his brow. Ah, dear Obed, that is the crux of our journey. The giants we face are not merely external foes but manifestations of our internal struggles. By acknowledging them, we take away their potency. When we speak our fears aloud, we rename our vulnerability as courage. The giants can be conquered, but only if we march toward them united, each step resounding with the power of our shared stories. At that moment, the wind rustled through the trees, and the scent of cedar filled the air, a reminder of the sacredness surrounding them. It was as if the universe urged them to delve deeper, to ponder their essence amidst such simplicity. Let us not shy away from the lessons our giants may hold, Moses continued, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. What if these confrontations teach us our truest selves? What treasures lie within our struggles? Miriam, contemplating deeply, added quietly, could we not forge a new reality? Fear, instead of paralyzing us, might become a teacher, and the legacy we desire might rise from the ashes of our trials. A silence enveloped the gathering, heavy with contemplation. There was beauty in their collective vulnerability and strength in their interconnectedness. Suddenly, the flickering lights of the campfires flickered as if in response to their revelations, casting luminous shadows that ebbed and flowed like the tides, reminding them of the cyclical nature of existence and learning. As the night lingered, an ancient truth began to root itself deeper in their hearts. Moses, sensing the shift, asked softly, what if as we unravel our past and embrace our fears, we discover an even greater awakening? Is our lineage not merely our history, but the legacy of all who will come after us? How can what we learn together echo through time, shaping the lives of generations that have yet to step into the light? Their eyes turned toward the endless sky, filled with glimmers of hope and uncertainty. What awaited them when the day came to confront the giants? Would they rise as conquerors or tremble in despair? The queries hung in the air like the fragrant smoke from the fires, inviting them to seek answers within. And in that uncertain pause, a sacred truth shimmered out of reach, urging them onward into the unknown. At the break of dawn, as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the horizon, casting golden beams upon the weary yet hopeful faces of the Israelites, the air pulsed with anticipation. Moses stood at the forefront of the encampment, his heart warm with the revelations shared under the stars, the echoes of vulnerability still resonating in his soul. Yesterday's gathering of confessions had birthed a sense of unity, one that he hoped would strengthen them as they approached the trials ahead. The memory of the shared fears lingered, but like the mist that dissipated with the dawning light, he sensed a renewed purpose shimmering among the people. They had named their giants, confronting shadows that had loomed over them for too long, yet the battle they faced was far from over. What did it mean to march forward into the land promised, armed not only with courage but understanding of their past? People of Israel, Moses called out, his voice rising above the gentle rustling of the morning breeze. The camp fell silent, their eyes and ears attuned to the man who had become their guide through the wilderness. Today is a new day, laden with potential. Yesterday, we spoke of fears and losses, yet let us not forget the divine treasures hidden within those very moments. What we face ahead are not just giants of flesh and bone, but giants composed of doubts, memories, and the unyielding weight of despair. To conquer them, we must believe in the promise of a renewed spirit. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly, the strength of their shared resolve igniting once more. Yet Moses felt the weight of his leadership pressing down upon him. How could he ensure that their raw vulnerability became a source of empowerment rather than a burden? Could embracing their past truly lead to triumph? With every heartbeat, he wrestled with a profound understanding. Sometimes the greatest battles were waged not on distant fields, but within the hearts of those gathered before him. Together, we have unearthed what binds us, he continued, his tone firm yet gentle. Let us now forge an alliance not just against the giants in Canaan, but against the internal enemies that threaten our unity. As we stand at the threshold of this promised land, let us turn our fears into faith, our doubts into determination. Caleb stepped forward, a spark of excitement illuminating his features. Moses, how do we stay united in that purpose? What if our resolve falters when faced with the unknown? How can we ensure that our shared strength prevails when we confront the giants? Moses nodded, understanding the gravity of the question. In battles of legacy, it is not just strength that propels you forward, it is love, compassion, and unity among you. Let us create rhythms of remembrance. Every day is an opportunity to share stories of victories and defeats, of times when our faith faltered yet remained unbroken. In sharing, we guard against the silent poison of isolation, weaving a tapestry of resilience that connects us deeper. The community responded with a surge of enthusiasm, their hearts beating together in anticipation of the journey ahead. As they began to prepare for the march toward Canaan, Moses observed families gathering, brothers and sisters reaffirming their bonds, and sharing moments of laughter and tears alike. This new ritual of unity would serve as a wellspring of strength, a testimony to the idea that together was indeed better than apart. As the sun climbed higher and the camp bustled with life, Moses felt a guiding spirit settle on his shoulders. He raised his staff toward the heavens, calling upon the divine for assurance. Lord of the covenant, grant us courage as we step into the unknown. May our hearts be strong as we walk together as one. We remember the past not to dwell in sorrow, but to illuminate the path ahead. Then, in an unexpected moment, the ground beneath them trembled. A powerful sign shook the very air, and a solemn hush blanketed the crowd. The earth tremored once more, but this time it felt like a stark call, a divine reminder that the giants they faced were formidable yet not insurmountable. Fear of the unknown sought to creep into their minds, but in that moment of collective breath, they remembered the weight of mistrust and isolation had already begun to lift. They were no longer individuals bound by exodus alone, they were a community, their shared story more potent than mere survival. As the tremors finally ceased, Moses spoke with renewed vigor. The very earth bears witness to our resolve. Let us march forward not with dread but with divine inspiration, knowing we carry not just our fears, but the strength of our unity. Whatever exists in that land, whatever giants await, will be faced not as isolated beings but as a cohesive force rooted in love. The people erupted into a chorus of encouragement, lifting their voices as one. Their songs echoed through the valleys, a testament to their commitment to transcend their fears collectively. Armed with fresh courage, they began to pack their belongings, preparing for the march toward the land that had been promised, emboldened by the spirit of connection they had embraced. As they set their feet upon the wandering path that wound through the wilderness toward the promised land, Moses felt an undeniable shift within his spirit. As they ventured onward, the joy of discovery began to intertwine with the weight of their shared experiences. Each step reminded them that, no matter the giants that waited, they possessed the strength to rise as one, battling not only the monsters of the land but also the shadows inside. Their journey expanded under the vast expanse of an unyielding sky, each moment a mixture of joy and uncertainty, threaded with the collective commitment to face both giants and fears. Amidst the horizon that awaited them, the voices of his people intertwined. It became clear strength was born from their vulnerabilities, that love could turn fear into fortitude, and that their emerging unity would lead the way. And as they marched before the waters of Judea, ambers of hope flaring in their hearts, Moses whispered a prayer to the heavens, a silent promise infused in each thought. May we always remember, amid our trials together, we can transform the giants of our fears into stepping stones toward the promises of our God. Amidst shouts and laughter, they marched together into the light, believing that the legacy they shaped that day would echo throughout generations, an enduring reminder that what was once feared could become the very fabric of their hope, their community, their future a powerful testament that faith, when shared, could conquer even the mightiest giants.